Well, good morning, security gang, and welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. My name is James Azar. I'm the host and Chief Information Security Officer. Thank you all for tuning in this morning, Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. A busy show for all of y'all today. Let's get into some of the teasers, some of the stories we're going to be talking about today. Ingram Micro confirming the ransomware hit with the 42,000 impacted. New data shows 4 in 5 small businesses were scammed last year. Germany unveiling the Cyberdome with Israel for joint defense. A Cloudflare bug headline has defenders double checking their edge. And once we finish all of that, we've got TP-Link fixing for VIGI cameras, a prompt injection hole for Gemini, a DevTool abuse in VS Code, a Malwarebytes brand impersonation wave, ongoing Russian hacktivist noise against the UK, and Jen Easterly's next move, as well as a bipartisan push to fix DoD's cyber talent gap. Whew. I hope y'all are ready for this morning's show because it is packed. If you're watching us live, what you're seeing in front of you on the screen is cyberhubpodcast.com. It's where you can go to get exclusive content. You also get a summary of this very podcast delivered in your inbox shortly after this episode ends. So you can go and check it out there at cyberhubpodcast.com. To power us through today's episode, I've got my double espresso. Coffee cup, cheers, gang. For those who always ask, I'm drinking Lavazza semi-bold. It's pretty good. Not, it's a good coffee. Like most Lavazza in Italy is really good coffee. All right. We'll kick off with Ingram Micro's ransomware impacting 42,000 people who had their personal information hacked. The global distributor disclosed the ransomware incidents that exposed data tied to 42,000 individuals. This includes third-party logistics disruptions for downstream resellers and even potential exposure of employee and contractor PII that was used for follow-on fraud, that could be used for follow-on fraud. The root cause for this one was compromised credentials and partner access, enabling lateral movement to data stores before encryption. A classic double extortion play, by the way, there. The supply chain ripple effects are one of the key risks for Ingram Micro, including shipping delays, fraudulent invoices, and even some MFA fatigue lures that could be aimed at your AP or AR teams, accounts payable or receivable. If you're thinking of how do you mitigate against this, stand up a supplier payment hardening, enforcing out-of-band callbacks for any bank or beneficiary change on invoices originating from distributor and logistics partners is one way to ensure you don't fall victim for this type of attack, especially if you're with the Ingram Micro ecosystem there as well. So this story, I had to go digging for this morning. I mean, we dug. We found it. We validated. And boy, did it hit close to home. So 4 in 5 small businesses were hit with cyberscams in 2025. The new survey data is showing that the fraud firehouse is squarely aimed at small businesses. Phishing, invoice fraud, fake tech support, and even CEO payment requests dominate. The root cause? Low friction entry via email, SMS, social, weak verification culture, and single person approvals all lead to higher payouts. And again, cash leakage through business email compromise and irreversible ACH wires kill these businesses. Kill them. Look, small businesses are the backbone of our economy, whether you like it or not. Them targeting small businesses is no surprise. We here on the show always talk about enterprise. We always talk about enterprise because we all recognize enterprise. But we're seeing these small businesses getting hit. And yes, they're not getting hit for millions, but tens of thousands and thousands. And for a business that lives off of that, that's a lot of money because oftentimes they don't have insurance or they're underinsured. So the insurance doesn't cover it. And they're trying to do business and they build business on trust. And these cyber criminals take advantage of it. If you're a small business operator, you know someone who's a small business operator, let me just give you a piece of advice. Require 2-person approvals for any payments outside kind of like historical ranges, whether it be amount, beneficiary country, or even first-time payees. Just encourage your people to speak up. That goes a long way in a small business. Don't, you know, bad businesses fail all the time. Good businesses know how to empower people to ask questions. Get your people to ask questions. That'll go a long way to preventing this type of fraud. Germany's Cyberdome with Israel is coming to life. Berlin is building a joint cyber defense architecture and knowledge sharing pipeline with Israel. Think rapid intel exchange, detection, tooling, and joint incident playbooks spanning government and critical infrastructure. When you're asking why now, elevated state-aligned threat pressure on European critical services and the need for faster cross-border response. The key risk here, if you're a German market supplier, expect tighter control testing and faster regulatory asks after incident. You want to map your German market assets and pre-align with sector ISACs. Designate a German incident liaison to speed regulator partner notification if you operate in the nation based on this. Look, when I was in Israel last year, we went to Beersheba to the CyberCert. And in the CyberCert, they had a call center. That call center was, I believe, 118, if I'm not mistaken. 118, 811, one of those. I forgot what it was, or 108. Sorry, 108. Because in Israel, emergencies 100. That's the cops. 101 is ambulance. 102 is fire. 108 is cyber. Okay, 108. There's a call center. In that call center sit engineers and analysts that take your call live. And if you're going through an incident, they automatically inject themselves in to help mitigate the risk, mitigate the incident, contain it. They'll do a lot of the work for you. They don't do everything all the time, but they do some of the work for you. That model, every government I've been with in Israel has looked at that model and said, how do we replicate it? It's very hard to replicate it anywhere outside of Israel. Singapore is trying and actually doing a pretty good job at it. And that's because of mandatory service. The sense of civic duty exists there. I'm not saying we don't have it in America, but 1% of our population serves in the armed forces. We don't, and part of our political fraction today is because of the lack of civil duty. We don't help each other. We put each other in camps. And so when you're not standing shoulder to shoulder, even with people who you politically disagree with, you tend to have less in common with. Civic, so some sort of giving back to your own community goes a long ways beyond just giving back to the community you're politically aligned to, but rather the community at large goes a long way. That's why it works in Israel, by the way. And that's what Germany's trying to replicate in Germany, partially in order to deal with the Russian threat there as well. All right, we're gonna kind of move some stories around here. A Cloudflare vulnerability headline here, folks. A critical zero-day vulnerability in Cloudflare was reported and flagged as a newly surfaced zero-day scenario. Even when patches and mitigations appear quickly, the window between disclosure and attacker weaponizing is where outages and privilege pivots actually happen. This one was an edge service complexity, authentication, caching, and worker logic that makes small flaws with high blast radius. Your key risk with this specific zero-day session hijack or even traffic redirection at the edge, which could cascade micro outages for dependent apps. You want to enable the per service circuit breaker feature in Cloudflare flags that features flags and traffic splits, so you can quickly route around a suspected edge control without a full rollback. Let me give you the CVE for this one so y'all can look it up here. Just a moment. Where did it go? It was right in front of us here at some point. Man, it's not on here. All right. This is the Cloudflare zero-day, and we don't have it here. It's the web app application. It's not available here for whatever reason. It's not there. All right. TP-Link is patching the VIGI camera flaw. The internet exposed VIGI cameras were vulnerable to takeover. The physical security gear on flat networks is a common lateral path for many threat actors. The web interface and authentication defects on device reachable from untrusted networks was the key reason behind it. The key risk here is building surveillance feeds tampered with cameras used as internal foothold. One mitigation put the cameras on a non-routable VLAN with a management jump host, so there's no direct internet, no east-west reach to business applications. If you're unable to patch or unwilling to patch or don't want to patch, that's another way. Our friends over at Migo Security talking about a Google Gemini prompt injection flaw there. The researchers show that the hostile data can coerce Gemini into exfiltrating secrets or even executing unintended actions when agents read untrusted content. The root cause for this is the lack of strict tool use constraints and output filtering in agent chains. One of the risks here is data leakage from connected docs, repos, or even tickets, automated changes based on poison inputs. To mitigate this, you should gate any agent with allow list tools and retrieval sources only, block actions on content origins you haven't explicitly trusted. Liad Eliyahu, head of research at Migo, highlights this. So something you can definitely look into. Threat actors are weaponizing Visual Studio Code, and we knew this was coming. Malicious extensions, scripts, and VS Code folders, and even debug profiles are being used to plant stealers and even backdoors on dev machines. The root cause behind this one is developer environments are accepting unvetted workspace settings and extensions by default. The risk here is secret theft like API keys and even cloud credentials, as well as even poisoning the builds. To mitigate this one, lock VS Code to an enterprise extension allow list and disallow workspace level settings from untrusted repos. That'll help take care of this one. Let's move into this impersonation ring for Malwarebytes, where actors are impersonating Malwarebytes online. The phishing and rogue download sites are spoofing the brand to push info stealers under the guise of urgent security updates. The domain lookalikes and even SEO poisoning are in full effect here. Users are installing this malware with admin rights and handing over browser and password vault data just like that. To mitigate this one, if you have Malwarebytes in your enterprise environment, deploy DNS filtering with typo squad blocking and even publish a single verified download link internally. If it's a individual account, which Malwarebytes is pretty big on the consumer side, only trust what you get out of the Malwarebytes website. So if something pops up, close it, go to the Malwarebytes site, and look it up there. It'll always be available there in the download section. So do that and never click on anything sponsored. That's another big no-no. The UK government warns of an ongoing Russian hacktivist attack aimed at the country that includes DDoS attacks and nuisance web defacements are continuing against the public sector and critical service sites. The propaganda value matters here for the Russian more than depth. There are loosely coordinated hacktivist crews leveraging open source tools and even volunteer botnets. One of the risks here is service degradation and reputational damage during public-facing events. To mitigate this one, you want to pre-construct surge DDoS capacity with your CDN or edge provider tied to public event calendars where they're looking to embarrass you. All right, our final few stories here before we wrap up today's show. Jen Easterly moves on from CISA to become the CEO of RSAC. The former director of CISA will lead the industry's flagship conference, RSA, in California. Expect heavier emphasis on real-world resilience, KEF patching urgency, and public-private playbooks as Jen takes this public role here in a very exciting time. Jen obviously resigned, as every director does, on January 19th. She was not retained by the ongoing Trump administration, who still hasn't had the new CISA director confirmed. He's been renominated. That hopefully will clear in the next few weeks, and CISA will have a leader. And we'll end with this. A bipartisan bill to close DoD cyber talent gaps is on its way. Lawmakers want a hardwired workforce strategy, hiring flex scholarships, and even faster clearances to scale cyber units. The persistent shortages in offensive and defensive roles and competition with private sector are causing some issues for DoD. Increased demand will tighten the private sector hiring pool in 2026, as many people would rather go work, even for less money, at DoD doing the cool stuff there than work in the private sector. And so if you kind of want to help compete with this one, you should launch a junior to associate talent pipeline now with some sort of apprenticeships and cert sponsorships to stay ahead of the recruiting pressure. Sorry, had to squeeze. Show's always live, so can't help it. I'm not going to edit that one out. That's it for our show this morning. I hope you got a lot of information out of this one. I know I sure did. Again, 4 out of 5 small businesses. We all know someone. We all know a handful of people that are in small business. Talk to them about cyber. Yes, talk to them about cyber. 4 out of 5 are falling for scams. 4 out of 5 are being targeted by cyber scams. That's insane. And look at that as something there. By the way, the bill coming through is coming from both Mike Rounds and Gary Peters, a Republican and a Democrat. So hopefully more bipartisanship is in lieu of an election year midterms where I doubt a lot of bipartisanship will exist, but at least this one is there. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern live with all the latest. Make sure to subscribe at cyberhubpodcast.com. Give us a follow, like, subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Twitch, wherever else you get your podcast. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Music as well. Have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, y'all stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.